हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू आवर यूट्यूब चैनल केसन अपडेटर्स। आज हम आपके साथ पॉलिटिकल साइंस बीजी थर्ड सेमेस्टर का गेस्ट पेपर शेयर करने जा रहे हैं और आज हम इन क्वेश्चंस के आंसर भी आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे जो इस गेस्ट पेपर में हैं। अगर आपको बीजी थर्ड सेमेस्टर के और भी प्रीवियस ईयर पेपर्स और गेस्ट पेपर्स चाहिए तो हमारा प्ले लिस्ट ज़रूर चेक करना हमारे यूट्यूब चैनल पे। बीजी थर्ड सेमेस्टर वहाँ हमने ऑलरेडी अपलोड किए हुए हैं और सिलेबस भी हमने ऑलरेडी अपलोड किया हुआ है। अगर आप हमारा व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप ज्वाइन करना चाहते हो तो डिस्क्रिप्शन में हमने लिंक दी हुई है, वहाँ से आप ज्वाइन कर सकते हो। अगर हम गेस्ट पेपर की बात करें, इसका जो पहला क्वेश्चन है, डिस्कस डेविड ईस्टोन सिस्टम अप्रोच। इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है, सिस्टम्स अप्रोच डेविड ईस्टोन। Political system theory is an important theory in comparative politics. A system is defined a- as set of related units which interact with each other on a continuous basis. The overall interactions within the unit of the system allows the system to function and an equilibrium is attained. David Easton is the first political thinker to use the system analysis to understand the political process explained. He has system theory in his book A Framework for Political Analysis. For a political system to survive, David Easton it must be able to perform two functions always. It must be able to allocate value to society, thinking decision and issuing command. It must be able to get all members of society accept those values. Meriters offer a framework for scientific analysis of political process. Second point, dynamic model and easy to explain the change of politics. Third point, normotensive dimensions. Third, fourth point, steady national and international politics. Fifth point, evaluate the capacity of system. Useful in regular analysis, equally applicable on all ideologies, helpful in universal theory, satirity of instability of politics, demeritors, political system become more independent, elite oriented theory, limited to national problems, narrow concept, not appropriate for revolutionary changes। ये था पहला क्वेश्चन का आंसर। क्वेश्चन नंबर सेकंड, एक्सप्लेन इन डिटेल द गैब्रियल एल्मोंड स्ट्रक्चरल फंक्शनल अप्रोच। इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है, structural and functional approach, Gabriel Element. Structural functional approach is an improvement upon systems approach from political analysis. System approach was too general and did not elaborate on the functions of the structures. Structural functional approach model of analysis was first developed by social anthropologist Radcliffe Brown and Malinowski and later adopted by sociologists Talcott, Parsons, Merton, and Levy. The major influences on structural functional approach were David Easton's input-output model of political system and institutional approach of comparative politics. Structural functional approach was further developed by Gabriel Almond and Powell in comparative politics. A developmental approach, they argued that all political systems, irrespective of their nature, have to perform some function to stay relevant. There are the functional requirements of the system. They suggested the use of functions and functional requisites instead of inputs and outputs. As modification to Easton's model, they have provided seven functions which a political system has to perform in order to sustain themselves and stay relevant. They concede that these functions might be performed by different political structures based on stage of political evolution. They believe in mature systems there is functional specialization. फर्स्ट इनपुट फंक्शंस, इसका जो सब टॉपिक है, पॉलिटिकल सोशलाइजेशन एंड रिक्वायरमेंट। पॉलिटिकल सोशलाइजेशन कैन बी अंडरटेकन इन मैनिफेस्टो और लेटेंट मैनर एंड कैन बी universalistic or specific. There can be some specialized or differentiated structures for this purpose. It can be left to chance or to voluntary agencies. It can be planned, leading to accelerate peace pace of development and efficiency, as in case of former USSR, China, and other countries. India present the mixed pattern, partly planned and partly voluntary agencies. Second point, interest articulation. Interest articulation maintains the boundary line between society and the political system. Anti-equilibrium style of functions, according to Parsons, tends to be particulatic, specific, effective and self-oriented. Third point, interest aggregation. A political system can cope with innumerable interest or diversities if they gained are aggregated or grouped at higher levels. Various interests, demands, pressures, wants, etc. Interest aggregation enables the system to operate in a simplified, acceptable, responsive, accountable, and efficient manner. It becomes easy for it to jump from input to output stage. Fourth, political communication. Communication is the medium through which all other functions are performed. Element equates it to circulator of blood in human body. Its scope and form is wider than conventional terms like public opinion, mass media, press, etc. It is sharing of ideas, information, and values by various means and expressions thereof. Second, जो इसका part है output functions. Element has analyzed input functions in detail owing to their dominating role in the developing countries. They have also been called political functions. The political system converted them into output is because of their transformation through formally recognized machines. Mechanisms. First, जो इसका topic है rule making. The concept of rule is broader than law. Interests after being articulated and aggregated have to be given formal recognition and limited legitimate expression. In ancient times, it was divinely ordained or oracled through some godly person, priest, or saint. Second, rule application after making of rules or formal recognition of the will or interests of the people. The next category of functional requisites is rule application. It is putting of rule into actual practice. In modern times, it is the biggest part of output. Rule adjudication. Rule application functions broadly apply rules or will of the people equal to all in equal situation, but there are be individual or specific situations wherein it is difficult to apply, or if applied it can cause injustice or grievous injury to some persons. ये था second question का answer. Question number third, explain various types of political culture. इस question का जो answer. Question number third, explain various types of political culture. इसका जो answer है types of political culture. Consensuous political culture. Citizens may disagree on some political processes but agree on how decisions are made or how problems are solved. First part. Second point. By and large, consensuous political culture accepts both legitimacy or the regime and solutions to major problems. Second point. Conflictual political culture. First, इसका जो first सब topic है, citizens are sharply divided, often on legitimacy and how to solve problems. Second, hard to come to conclusions where citizens agree or disagree on basis like capitalism versus communism. Third point, religious differences may also threaten the legitimacy or stability of a regime. Fourth, political subcultures may arise. Divisions will be so deep that government will struggle to function properly. ये था third question का answer. Question number 4, types and determinants of political participation. इस question का जो answer है, types of political participation. Conventional participation, voting, letter writing, contact with representatives, working on campaigns, campaign contribution, joining groups, social capital, running for office. Unconventional participation, boycotts, sit-ins, marches, demonstrations, violation. Unconventional conventional, follow the political system, voting, campaigning, lobbying officials. Unconventional, do not follow the routinized institutional forms of politics, protest, demonstration, violence, revolution. Fifth, voting in elections. Sixth, community activity. Seventh, campaign activity. Eighth, protesting. Ninth, running for public office. Determination, education without information and knowledge, meaningful participation in politics can be difficult. Social isolation, there is a limited network to support and encourage political participation. Personal factors, many people may have limited confidence or motivation to participate. Stigma and discrimination, majority groups may have prejudices, fears, and discomfort towards people with disabilities and therefore may not support their participation. Lack of disability friendly process assess bearing can make it difficult for people with disabilities to participate, for example, inaccessible voting booths. Lack of role models in many countries or communities. There are few examples of people with disabilities in high profile political positions. Legal barriers in many countries, people with disabilities are not permitted to vote. For example, people with mental health problems. ये था इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर. क्वेश्चन नंबर 5, डिस्कस स्ट्रक्चर एंड फंक्शन ऑफ पॉलिटिकल एग्जीक्यूटिव. इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है तो political executives are those executives which are representatives of the people and are elected by people through an electoral process. They are elected for a certain period, that is 5 years. Function of political executives: law, decision, affair, politics, people, citizen. Control of policy making. Second, govern the policy process, key function. Third, to develop coherent economic and social programs. Fourth, popular leadership. Fifth, the ability of the executive to mobilize support that ensures the compliance and cooperation of the general public. Sixth, policy implementation becomes difficult, perhaps impossible, if executive is unable to gain support. Seventh, bureaucratic leadership. Chief executives, ministers, and secretaries constitute a top management charged with running the machinery of government. Executive oversees administration, crisis leadership. When crises break out in either domestic or international politics, it is the executive that responds. Emergency powers: when confronted by domestic crises such as natural disaster, terror threats, industrial unrest, and civil orders are wages. Types of political executive. There are two types of the executives in our country. There are the political executive and the permanent executive. The political executive are not permanent members of the executive but are elected for a particular term and change when the government changes, whereas the permanent executive is a group of selected members who remain in office even after the government changes. ये था इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर. नेक्स्ट जो क्वेश्चन है, डिस्कस द स्ट्रक्चर एंड फंक्शन ऑफ जुडिशरी. इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है, जुडिशरी इज called the guardian of the constitution because it protects, preserves, and promotes the constitution through interpretations, remedies, and punishment. Judiciary is the third very important organ of Indian government. Other two organs are legislature and executive. Their function are making of laws and execution of laws respectively. It is the backbone of the government because however there is dispute between the central and state, between state and the citizens, and among the states, judiciary is the only organ which controls the dispute and pass judgment. Judgment passed by the judiciary is binding on all, whether it may be citizens or government. Judiciary is the guardian of the human rights, protector of the constitution, and promoter of peace and cordiality in India. It checks and balances the legislative or executive action of the government. Supreme Court of India, its decisions are binding on all courts, can transfer judges of high courts, can move cases from any court to itself, can transfer cases from one high court to another. High court can hear appeals from lower courts, can issue rights to restore fundamental rights. Second, can deal with the cases within the jurisdiction of the state, experiences superintendence and control over courts below it. District court deals with cases arising in the district, consider appeals on decision making by lower courts. Decisions decides cases involving serious criminal offenses. Subordinate courts consider cases of civil and criminal nature. ये था इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर. अब लॉन्ग आंसर टाइप के क्वेश्चन नंबर फर्स्ट, डिस्कस द मीनिंग, नेचर एंड स्कोप ऑफ कंपैरेटिव पॉलिटिक्स। इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है, comparative politics is a subject of study in the direction of the expanding horizon of political science. It brings new techniques and theories as well as approaches to study of politics. Comparative politics is one of the branch of political science which involves study of government. In comparative politics, we study power, sovereignty, and other theories in broader sense and bring new dimensions to these theories. Thus, the branch of comparative government and politics is commonly understood means the comparative study of government politics and political system of one country with another country or at times within the country with itself. It is said to be an examination of past history and present politics. In the field of comparative politics, we analyze the political experience, institutions, behavior, and process of major systems of the modern government. Its purpose is to analyze the similarities and dissimilarities of the government and politics of different countries so that it may be possible to predict for the further. Nature of comparative politics, analytic research. Contemporary comparative politics gives more stress on analytic research. It is no longer confined to descriptive analysis. On a wider connection, it seeks to analyze empirically and analytically the actual activities of the governments and their structure and function. Second objective, study of political science. Comparative politics involve a value-free empirical study of the various processes of the politics in different environment. Only those values are admitted whose validity can be scientifically demonstrated. Third, study of infrastructures. Comparative politics seek to analyze the actual behavior of individual group structures, subsystems, and systems in relation to the environment in which the behavior manifests. Fourth, study of both developed and developing societies. Traditionally, comparative politics involved only the study of political systems of the developed societies. However, in contemporary times, it lays great stress on study of political system of developing societies as well. Fifth, horizontal and vertical comparisons. Comparative politics involves both a comparative study of the political structure and function of national political systems of various states and also a comparative study of the political institution at work within a single state. Scope of comparative politics. Traditionally, the scope of the comparative politics was limited and parochial. It is confined to the study of constitutions and political institutions in respect of their features, powers, and positions. The scope of comparative politics includes the study of all structures, formal and informal government, and extra government, which directly or indirectly involved in the struggle for power taking places in all states. Another important part of the scope of comparative politics is that the study of scope of the actual behavior of the people in the process of politics, voting behavior, political participation, leadership requirement, allied behavior, mass political populism, etc. form integral part of study of comparative politics. The scope of comparative politics has become very good. It includes everything that falls within the purview of political activity and political process. It seeks to study all mechanisms of politics with a view to build a science of politics capable of explaining and comparing all political activities, processes, and systems. It involves the study of all structures and functions which directly or indirectly, vigorously or passively affect the characterize the political process in all states. ये था इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर. क्वेश्चन नंबर सेकंड, डिस्कस मीनिंग एंड एजेंसीज ऑफ पॉलिटिकल सोशलिज्म. इस क्वेश्चन का जो political socialization is a lifelong process by which people form their ideas about politics and acquire political values. The family educational system, peer groups, and the mass media all play a role. While family and school are important early in life, what our peers think and what we read in the newspaper and see on television have more influence on our political attitudes. As adults, so we can say that political socialization is a process by which an individual gets knowledge about the political system, political values, and beliefs. Political socialization helps the individual to acquaint himself with political culture and also to change himself according to it. Agents of socialization, persons, groups, or institutions that teach us that what we need to know in order to participate in society. Family, primary agent of socialization. Family experiences give us our basic sense of identity, values, norms, and beliefs. Families gives children their geographic location and urban or rural background as well as social class, race, religion, and ethnic group. The mass media have become a dominant agent of socialization with advent of television. Peer group, a group of people who are linking by common interest is equal social position and are usually similar age. In what ways are peer groups important agents of socialization? Function as agent of socialization by contributing to our sense of belonging and feeling of self-worth. Provide adolescents with some degree of freedom from adultery, teach about acceptable behavior, reflect a large culture and pass that on to others. ये था इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर. अब जो लास्ट क्वेश्चन है, क्वेश्चन नंबर थर्ड, डिस्कस स्ट्रक्चर एंड फंक्शन ऑफ लेजिस्लेटर. इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है, डिस्कस स्ट्रक्चर एंड फंक्शन ऑफ लेजिस्लेटर. A legislature is a governing body that makes laws and can also amend or repeal them. The word legislature comes from the Latin word for law, legis. In the USA, each state has a legislature made up of elected state senators and assemblymen or women or representatives. Legislature of the Union, which is called Parliament, consists of the President and two houses known as Council of States, Rajya Sabha, and House of People, Lok Sabha. Each house has to meet within 6 months of its previous sitting. A joint sitting of two houses can be held in certain cases. Function of the legislature. Legislative function. The parliament enacts legislation for the country, control of executive and ensuring it is accountability. The function of the parliament is to ensure that the executive does not over sit up its authority and remains responsible to the people who have elected them. Financial function. Government is about spending a lot of money on various matters. Representation. Parliament represents the divergent views of members from different religion, social, economic, religious groups of different parts of the country. Debating function. The parliament is the highest form of debate in the country. Constituent function. The parliament has the power of discussing and enacting change to the constitution. The constituent powers of the both houses are similar. Electoral function is the parliament also performs some electoral function. It elects the president and vice president of India. Judicial function is the judicial functions of the parliament include considering the proposal for removal of president, vice president and judges of high कोर्ट एंड सुप्रीम कोर्ट. ये था इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर. थैंक यू. चैनल सब्सक्राइब करना और आने वाले दिन में हम और भी पेपर्स के गेस्ट पेपर आपके साथ शेयर करते रहेंगे. थैंक यू.